Daughters of Themyscira, show them your fear. We have no fear! Chills. Chills. What's up, everyone? Trent here. Welcome to the Fandom Zone. And Zack Snyder's Justice League is here, and it is absolutely epic. A vast improvement on the 2017 version in every way, shape, and form. From the characters to the story to the visuals. It was just 4 hours of epicness. I was engrossed for the whole 4 hours. Great work to Zack and Deborah Snyder, to all the cast and everyone involved who made it happen. Whether you like Zack Snyder or you don't like Zack Snyder's movies, you've got to appreciate the effort and the commitment and passion that went into this to get it out and for Zack's vision to be realized. Like it was a huge undertaking to get this out. And I think the payoff was very much worth it. In my head, this is now the canonical Justice League. That 2017 version can just right out of here. This was a vast improvement, and I was engrossed for the whole 4 hours. Now, one of the biggest improvements that happened was the overall story and the characters. Steppenwolf felt like he had an actual purpose instead of a mother complex. Everything that happened had a reason for happening, and everything made sense. Nothing felt thrown together at the last minute, and it actually followed a progressive plot. And whilst that story may have started off slow, I really enjoy slow building stories that build up to a huge crescendo at the end. The initial 2 hours was methodically laying the pace and setting the plot for what was a really big last two acts, really. And I really enjoyed that we got to see a lot more character motivations, particularly on the villain side. Steppenwolf wanting to prove to his uncle Darkseid, prove to his nephew Darkseid that he wasn't a failure after some previous failures that he had in invading Earth. We got to see more of the New Gods. They made sense. The Mother Boxes made a bit more sense, even though they differ from what their actions are in the comic books. Everything made more sense, and progressively it's structured really well. And another good thing about the story was it being broken up into chapters. I think it was 6 chapters, and it meant you could break it up into session watches, because 4 hours is a lot of time if you don't have much time on your hands. So I think that allowed for that breakup, and where the chapter breaks were made logical sense in terms of the story. You got a lot of focus in the first couple of chapters on building the narrative, and then the action in the last 2. So I watched it in 2 2-hour sessions, and I didn't feel like when I cut it off I was missing out on anything. I felt like, this is a good place to stop, and I'll pick it up next time, like watching an episodic television series. Now, the biggest improvement in the movie were the characters. They had so much depth, and there were so many multifaceted arcs going on. And the biggest character development came for Cyborg. Ray Fisher, give yourself a round of applause. Your performance stole the absolute show in every scene that you were in. Starting off, and the thing that I really enjoyed was Cyborg had that this man, this monster moment. He didn't see himself as human anymore. He went through a emotionally progressive arc that we didn't get to see in the other version. And there was nuance to the performance, there was nuance in the characteristics and the body language, and that evolved as the movie progressed. We got a full character arc for Cyborg within this 4-hour movie, which was excellent. And whenever Cyborg was on screen, you were drawn to him. Whereas in the 2017 version, he was just kind of there as this background side character that was not really doing much. But it makes complete sense as to why Ray was so disappointed with that release, because he is an integral part of this movie. And his father Silas. There's some great moments between father and son, even when they're not in the same room. Even if it's just Cyborg reminiscing about his history and you have Silas narrating what happened to him. There was so much emotion conveyed in just one half of his face. It was a great performance, and well done to Ray Fisher. And Ezra Miller's Flash, a huge improvement as well. And Aquaman, Jason Momoa, even though he was a fish out of water and didn't really have much to do in terms of using the water and water fights, aside from the Steppenwolf scene, Jason Momoa is so charismatic that even if he's not really doing too much within the movie itself, whenever he's on screen and whenever he's talking, you listen to him. He's got that presence. And what I liked about this depiction of Aquaman, even though there weren't that many aqua scenes, is that it reminded me very much of Grant Morrison's JLA, where Arthur was the conscience of the team. Bruce was acting out of grief and trying to make things right. So his decisions may not have been the most rational ones, even though they were necessary for the events of the movie. But Arthur was the conscience of the team, questioning decisions, making sure that they're aware of the potential consequences and ramifications. And I really enjoyed that. It reminded me very much of Morrison's JLA. Now, Miller's Flash had some great moments and some more development with him. The Iris scene I really enjoyed, and I just think there was a nice blend of humor and also fear from Barry. We got to explore him and his powers, and that paid off hugely in the final act, where Barry is coming into the fastest man alive, and there are some hints that, you know, some actions that he took he may have done before, and there may have been ramifications, and he shouldn't have done that, but you saw him weigh up those options in time, and yeah, it worked really well. And I really enjoyed the way Flash's powers were displayed. You don't need to see him running fast the whole time because you miss things, so you see him running slow in the slow motion. The run made a lot of sense. In contrast, Wonder Woman had a lot more awesome action sequences, and they were sped up, so you get to see Diana instead of all the slow-mo stuff. You get to see Diana moving at a fast pace against these normal people. So I really enjoyed the depiction of the powers as well in this. And overall, it's what made the movie great. You had the logical story progression, and the characterization was... It progressed from the previous two Snyder movies, but it worked within the context of this film and the characterizations. It's the next logical step for Batman to show his grief and to have the weight of the world on his shoulders, while also looking to learn from his mistakes and right the wrongs that he made in Batman vs Superman, in judging Superman and realizing that he is the beacon of hope that the world needs. And speaking of Bruce's actions, the way he was depicted in this, it was strong but also vulnerable. He realizes that he's a god among men and that he can't do what these other people can. He's the brains. But I liked that when he was within the tech and within his equipment, he was effective. But as soon as that equipment went away, he didn't go head first and charge in against the parademons. He went around the outside, doing his kind of lurking in the shadows and taking down, picking enemies apart one at a time. That was a nice little nuance that I really enjoyed in this movie that made Bruce stand out as a more solid character and actually have a proper role within the movie. Now, there were a couple of things that didn't work for me in the movie. The first hour had a lot of slow-mo to convey emotions. And during those moments, there were some scenes that I thought, okay, this could be cut down to make it a tighter movie. Like there was one instance where Aquaman swam off and then the villagers started chanting, but there was really no follow-up to it. But I understand that Zack was including it to make these people appear like gods. The only one that's not a god, but still is clouded in myth, is Batman. So I understand where it was going, but it didn't feel entirely necessary. And the other thing that kind of took me out of the movie was the inconsistent score, unfortunately, from Junkie XL. The Wonder Woman theme was quite grating at times and was overplayed. Almost every time Diana stepped into a scene, her music played, and I'm like, okay, that's just... dial it back. We don't need the chants all the time. And there was a weird punk score that just felt a bit disjointed towards the end. But I mean, at 4 hours, you got to write a 4-hour score. It's going to be an arduous task. Now, speaking of Diana, while she was great in the action scenes, I did feel like her role was kind of relegated to the exposition-heavy, let's tell you how this story goes and, you know, the events that have led up to this. That was relied upon a little bit too more, and when she was recounting, some of that dialogue was quite stiff and felt like she was reading from a script. I don't know if that was because of reshoots or if that was how it was originally done, but I appreciate that she was the one, because of her connection to history, recounting. But again, it did just feel like it dragged on just that little bit too much. But again, a minor issue for a movie that I really enjoyed. The aspect ratio didn't bother me at all. Great work to everyone involved. I think they're releasing a black and white version now, so that'll be interesting. I really appreciate all the effort that went into this, and even if you're not a Zack Snyder fan, I think despite the Snyder tropes that are in it, this will definitely convert a lot of people into enjoying the movie, especially considering the performance of the 2017 movie. So I think this is going to be a movie that gets a lot of new fans into the DCEU. Well, hopefully it does. And hopefully the DCEU can continue to build on the movies that they've got in production and from storylines in this, particularly that ending. The ending was very interesting. and different from how it was portrayed in the 2017 version, in the meeting of Lex and Slade, and then you had the nightmare scene on the end, which had some excellent dialogue between Bruce and Mr. J. Actually, I really enjoyed that dialogue between Bruce and Joker, and I like that Joker's playing on the how many more people can you watch die. That was excellent while you're holding them in your arms. So yeah, really enjoyed that. But yeah, tell me your thoughts on Zack Snyder's Justice League in the comments below. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Be respectful, have fun, be nice, and as always, keep it nerdy.